Me?
Okay, can you state your full name,
Yes.
age, and location?
My name is Luam Embyaz. I am 29 years old, and I'm from Silver Spring, Maryland.
And can you state your ethnicity?
Eritrean.
Are you an Eritrean American?
Yes.
So can you say
I'm Eritrean American. I'm a first generation Eritrean in America. My parents were born in Asmara, Eritrea, which is the capital. And they actually were neighbors. So my parents grew up with each other since they were kids. So they were like really close. Like everyone in the neighborhood was super, super close. Everyone pretty much knew everyone in their direct village or community the same way that they are here in America. So when everyone kind of migrated here, it was like, oh, as if we knew everyone, which is pretty cool. So I have two sisters. My parents migrated from Sudan, because they were refugees there, to Philadelphia with my uncle. And they came about like 86, 87, because my sister was about 4 or 5 years old, for a 6-year difference. It was extremely difficult for them, I know for my mom especially, to become accustomed to the American culture and just like the language barrier and working and so on and so forth. But they made the most out of it, because it was almost like they were still back home. Like everyone stayed under the same roof. The women would still do the same roles, cooking and cleaning and maintaining the household and so on and so forth. And they finally came here probably about 87. And then I was born in 88. Like that.
I do not ever want to be Eritrean.
Yeah. I don't necessarily, you know what? I don't necessarily know if it's I didn't want to be Eritrean. I didn't want to be different. I didn't want to be different from my peers. So I did go through this phase where I hated my name. I hated the way I looked. I feel like I didn't look like the other girls in my school. Even though in my community, I favored everyone. We all looked the same for the most part. We all had long hair, we all had the braids, we all had similar features and things like that. But when I went to school, which I felt like was so much more important to me because I wanted to be socially accepted, I hated that my name was Luam, because it would always get butchered. It's 4 letters and it's 2 syllables. Yet I was a whale, lamb, lam, Luam. Is there an L-U-A-M? I just always knew who I was after in the class. So if it was like a sub or something, I'd be like, I'm right here. Right here. Don't even say my name, because you're going to butcher it. Right here. So my name means peaceful, calm. Judge mama. And I think for the most part, that is a lot of my character. I was probably one of the very, very, very few kids in our community who eventually grew up with a single parent. It was my sister, myself, and my mom. And from at least like 3, 4, I just remember it being my sister and my mom. And my father would come around, he would do like his fatherly duties, cab rides and donuts. Like that's what we did. We did cab rides to 7-Eleven, which I used to be so embarrassed by as a kid. The older you get, you're just like, I don't want anyone to know that you're a cab driver, or I don't want anyone to know that we speak a different language, or I don't want anyone to know that I'm any different than they are. The way my father thought this made sense growing up, I would always call him by his first name, which is Zena. My cousins used to say, like, you need to call him Baba, like that's his name. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Why would I ever call him that? Like, I know him to be what he is. When they would ask, like, oh, whose daughter are you? I would always say Gual Zena, which is Zena's daughter, because you always identify yourself by your father's name. And in some cases, the older I got, I would say I was Gual Mizan because I was raised by my mom primarily, and I felt like I kind of owed her that. I was being a little rebellious, obviously, breaking the cycle of some things. And some people didn't agree to it, which is fine, but I felt like I had to, hold my mother down. Let me show you something. She's about 4'10", 4'11" on a good day. And I've never seen someone, obviously, I've just never seen someone be able to take on life the way that she has. So our native language is Tigrinya. Growing up, I spoke it as a child, obviously, but the older I got, especially going into school, like elementary school and things like that, I noticed that I was definitely speaking a whole lot more English at home. So it was one of those things where I started to lose what I knew as far as speaking, but I could understand it very well. So it's only if I'm in a setting where I'm around family for like a short period of time, everything starts to filter back to me. It's like, oh, I didn't forget how to say this. I knew this meant this. But me and my sister obviously always spoke English to each other. My mom was learning English as much as she could for like work and just for us. So she never forced us to speak it at home. It wasn't mandatory to speak it at home. It was like we could speak what we knew, we could speak English as long as we were speaking. Because a quiet house was not about to happen. Because my best friend then, who is like a god sister now, she was fair-skinned. She was biracial, her mom was black, her dad was white, she was super fair-skinned. I was always the tiniest out of my friends or the tiniest in my family, so it always be like, you need to eat, like, are you not eating? And when she would always come around, because we were like two peas in a pod, it's like, you need to be like that. That's what you need to be like. Like, you're not built the way that your friend is, or like, you're not as calm, maybe, as your friend is. So I knew that growing up, I kind of had to dim my light a little bit. Around the elders especially, but around my cousins or like around my friends, for the most part it was fine. I might have heard I was a show off like once or twice, but for the most part it was a little difficult because I was just trying to find placement, and I felt like everything, that's weird, I felt like everything was different for me, because it was just like, you have a single mom, boom, okay. So since both of your parents are busy at work, you don't really have a parent show up for you at school. Or you just, like I said, like, you just, when your mom does come to school, it's like, where are y'all from? We ain't never seen an African that looked like you before. And that, again, was like, you can't win. You can't win. They're like Africans because of how we're portrayed on TV, especially in the 90s. It's like the Feed the Children commercial. Everyone looks super skinny. Everyone has a certain texture of hair. Everyone has a certain feature. So we're all supposed to look one way.
So, dating.
Dating.
Quickly. Not quickly, but.
I never believed in dating anyone that was Eritrean. And it sounds so bad because it could just be during our time here, since our parents were so fresh here, we were all cousins. We were all cousins. We were all cousins even when we weren't cousins. We were cousins. And that's how they would introduce us, and that's all that a lot of us knew for the most part. So the idea of dating someone within my community was gross to me. I'm like, that's my cousin. And now that I'm an adult, they're like, well, what happened to such and such? And I'm like, that was my cousin, remember? That was my whole cousin. And they're like, oh, we're not really related. And I'm like, well, that's where you guys messed up. That's where you messed up because it automatically canceled out the idea. Never marry an Ethiopian. And I'm like, wait, so who am I supposed to marry? An Eritrean. I said, well, what if they're not available? An American. And I was like, what? I was like, I don't even understand that. I was like, I don't get that. Because it was that bad. And because he obviously lost like his brothers, most of them in the war. So it's such a sensitive time. And we're still such a young country. Like we're like 25, 26 years old. So I'm older, in fact. I'm older than the country itself. Don't date an American. I date an American. I dated a few of them. Don't marry one. Only because I think the idea was if you do marry an American, what we've instilled in you is going to be lost. Like all the work that we put in to be the people that we are, along the way will get lost. If I came across someone that was like a fine Eritrean tenderoni or whatever, no, I mean, what I'm saying is I'm very open to it now as an adult because I obviously know who's my family, who's not my family. And it's a lot of people out here that's not my folks. I just know them from probably like way back when. So there's a little bit of like background on the kid because I may know their parents or their parents obviously know my parents and so on and so forth. Because the older I got, I became so much more appreciative of everything, of my name, of how I looked, of my culture, of our customs, like everything I grew to appreciate, especially once I had kids. Because I learned that those things are what made me rich as a person, as a human being. Like the fact that I come from such a strong group of people, like resilient people, very hardworking people, very good-hearted people. If I had to die and come back, I would want to come back the same way. A woman, because I'm down for the vagina. A woman, and I would want to come back like Eritrean. I love being where I'm from. Though I've never been, there's this connection even still, like. Mom, don't tell everyone my whole name. My daughter is half and half. Her dad is American, and obviously I'm from Eritrea, so I'm Eritrean American. So her middle name is Kasanet. And I get it. I completely understand. She's like, I don't want people to know my name. I don't want people to know that. I want people to just know Anaya, and that's it. And I always explain to her, I don't try to force it because I understand she's young. And she's also going through the things that I went through and things that other kids went through, where they're just trying to find their way. There's power in your name, and I named you for a reason. Like I named you this name for a reason. And you may not understand it now, which is okay. But along the ways, you are gonna celebrate that name. You're gonna want people to call you Anaya Kasana or Kasana for that matter. Because it's who you are. It attaches you to your roots, to the soil, to the land that your great-grandparents and your great-great-great-grandparents and my nieces and my nephew and my sister and my grandmother and my cousins and my aunts, like they live, they breathe that air. That's who we are. I don't want her to feel how I felt when I was a kid. I didn't feel good. I was like teased when I moved to Silver Spring. Kids were like mean to me, yet kids were really nice to me. So it all depended on where I was or the type of kids I was around. And I said, okay, well, I want my daughter to be bullied, but I want her to celebrate herself, and I want her to celebrate the other kids who don't look like her, who do look like her. And I'm fortunate that she goes to such a diverse school where there is a little girl who's in her class who wears a hijab, that's from Ethiopia. And she says that's her sister. I'm okay with that. Celebrate your sister, girl. Celebrate it. Years ago. So there's this big thing where you try not to name your child, you're trying to give your child a name that someone else already has in your family, because it's believed, so they say, that you will bring an illness upon the living who has that same name as you. So Gabriel is the namesake of both my uncles. My uncle Gabriel was my mom's brother, and he passed away in the war really young, so he didn't have any children. And then my uncle Aman, which is Gabriel's middle name, is my dad's brother who passed away 5 years ago. I was in so much trouble for getting pregnant. I was like disowned. It was just not supposed to happen that way. And I was like, tell me y'all brought me here. Y'all brought me to America. But it's a land of opportunity. You're supposed to go to college, get a good job. I was like, okay. Whatever. I wasn't allowed to say I was American growing up. My kids are not even allowed to say, depending on who they're talking to, they cannot say they're American, even though they are, even though I am. We're all supposed to say we're from Eritrea, our parents are Eritrean, or we're from X, Y, and Z. And it's not to discredit where we live and where we've been brought up, but it's to never forget where we came from, where we're able to go back to, where hopefully our kids are able to embrace and continue to hopefully pair up with another one and keep that bloodline strong. But even if they don't, it's that culture is so instilled in them that nothing can shake it. And they just cultivate in all of the roots.
I think it's amazing because your kids look Eritrean. And so if they say Eritrean, push back.
I think only when they see me. Because if they see their dad, they don't see it. Because ultimately, a lot of people think that my children favor their father. So they're like, sorry. They always like, like they favor their dad. But if they're with me, there's like no denying it. And there's always like that 5%. That's like, you're their mom? Like when I go to my daughter's school, and like let's say like the other Habesha parents come in and they look, and she's like, Mommy! For starters, they're like, you look like you're 16. And then they're like, this is your daughter? And I'm like, yeah. You didn't just hear her call me mom? That's not for play. That's real life. I wish they would call me something else. Like, no, these are my children. I always tell my mom, don't talk to them in English. And Papa's like, Papa's my son, by the way. He's like, I don't know what Grandma's saying. Grandma speak English. But my daughter, she loves it. So when people always ask her, where are you from, Anaya? She's like, Eritrea, Asmara. There's always that one hater that's like, you're American, do you know that? And I'm like, skirt, skirt. Mind your business, raise your own kids. Don't try to raise mine. So Anaya, for the most part, eats it all. She doesn't really have a preference. Gabriel, on the other hand, is we'll see how I feel today, or I just want pizza and french fries. And we just say, you can't eat pizza every day, bro. Like, what's wrong with you? But it works. Or they'll eat like kitcha, which is a dough dish. It's like you kind of fry the dough a little bit, where it's like cooked for the most part. Then you rip it up into pieces, and then you like put butter, which is our main spice. It's red, and you put like S1E01, which is butter, and you mix it all up. Oh, it's so good. And then you have sour cream, and then you like throw it on that thing. You just start eating it with the fork, with the fork. And it's funny because now I'm like, I want my kids to marry Eritreans. Especially my son. It's so bad. But I'm like, I mean, whoever you love, I'm okay with that. Love who you love. Let her name be like tickets. Like, it's super important. My kids have to be like, not by the book, but they need to have a good sense of their people and who they are. They need to have a good sense of identity. And I don't ever want them to lose that. I want them to be who they are, but that also entails them knowing who they are. And again, in knowing their background and their roots and the people that they come from. I am Luam Embyaz. I am Eritrean, and I am cultivating my roots.